Are you thinking about a move to the Pittsburgh area? This is the video for you. We're gonna take a deep dive into the pros and the cons of living in the Pittsburgh region. There's a lot of amazing things about living in the Pittsburgh region, but there's a lot of things you should also be aware of. So I'm here to give you the brutal, honest truth about all of the amazing things about living in Pittsburgh and all the things you should probably have a bit of caution and a little bit of warning so you can make the best decision possible. My name is Mark McClinchie, and I am a real estate agent here in the Pittsburgh region. I have been helping clients move from out of state to the Pittsburgh region for the last 8 years. I started this YouTube channel to give people more information so they can learn about a place they're unfamiliar with to make sure it's the right fit for their move. Prior to becoming a real estate agent, I was a public school administrator with multiple schools in the Pittsburgh region. So I'm always here to answer questions about the different neighborhoods and areas, but particularly the school districts within the Pittsburgh region. All right, let's jump into the pros and cons of living in the Pittsburgh region. Okay, so we're gonna run through pros and cons back and forth so you get a sense of the good and the bad at the same time and kind of compare and contrast them. But number one pro, absolutely, is going to be the affordability of the Pittsburgh region. The price points that you can get in the Pittsburgh region compared to other places you might consider moving are going to be way better. So the median price per square foot right now in the Pittsburgh region is a little under $200 a square foot. Pittsburgh's entry point makes it very affordable for first-time home buyers. And even if you're buying your second or third home and you're a move-up buyer and you're looking for something bigger, but at every price point and every size home, every kind of lifestyle you're looking for, you're gonna get more bang for your buck in the Pittsburgh region. If you wanna buy a 4,000 square foot home and you wanna be in a top ranked school district, you're gonna be able to find a home maybe in the 500,000 range, 700,000 range, but this would be double or triple if you were looking in other areas. And on the other end, if you're a first-time home buyer and you're looking for maybe a starter home, and most regions you're gonna pay at least $300,000 or $400,000 for a new home as a first-time home buyer. But here in the Pittsburgh region, you definitely can stay below $300,000 depending on what kind of neighborhood amenities you want, what kind of lifestyle you want. So affordability is definitely the number one pro about living in the Pittsburgh region. So the first con that I'll discuss is that Pittsburgh is very car dependent. If you are looking for a region that has tons and tons of walkability, where you very rarely need your car and public transportation is easily accessible, Pittsburgh's not the place. It is definitely very car dependent, and there are a handful of communities and small towns, small suburban communities that have some walkability, and we actually do have, I think, a pretty robust public transportation system. We have some great bus dedicated lanes throughout the region. We have a light rail that serves, unfortunately, only the South Hills, but for people that live there, it is possible to move to the Pittsburgh area and not use a car a lot. I do have a lot of clients that that's their goal. You just have to be strategic about it to kind of know where are the pockets that you can move to where you're not going to be dependent on a car. If you look at like a walk score, a walkability score that you can find online, Pittsburgh is probably pretty low on those scores. But again, overall, Pittsburgh very car dependent as a region. However, if it's your goal to not use a car that often, there are opportunities for you. Just, you got to work with someone that can find you those areas to know how you can avoid using your car all the time where you decide to end up living. The next pro about living in the Pittsburgh region are the school systems. So school districts in the Pittsburgh region rank very highly throughout the state region, but also nationally. Right? Pennsylvania does really well. So Pennsylvania as a whole has a great teacher education system, particularly in Western Pennsylvania, a long history of a lot of the local universities that are now state-run universities. Many of those started out as teacher colleges, and it was just a common profession for a lot of people, particularly women, that were entering the workforce to choose teaching, and teaching was a big priority in Western Pennsylvania. So the school systems have a long history of being very strong. I have worked in many of those school systems in the region or visited those. I was once part of a principal training corps that visited a lot of schools and got familiar with a lot of the local administrators, got to see how different school districts run their operations. But overall, the school district districts in the Pittsburgh region are very, very strong. We're also a very strong union-oriented region, and teachers' unions have been very strong for many, many decades, and they've done a great job of getting teachers the pay and the benefits that they deserve. So I definitely think that one of the best things about living in the Pittsburgh region, if you have school-age children, are the school systems. And if you're wondering which school system might be the right fit for you and your family and your children, please reach out. I have extensive experience throughout the Pittsburgh region, and I know a lot of the local administrators and school districts can give you very detailed information to figure out beyond just a ranking that is not very helpful. I can give you detailed information about which school district might be the best fit for you. So the second con that I want to talk about living in the Pittsburgh region sort of continues on the theme of the first one about driving, but just driving in general is pretty congested and can be very frustrating for a lot of out-of-town drivers. We don't have a lot of major highways. We don't have a belt system, because of the age of the city. Everything comes in and out of the city, and it's over bridges and through tunnels, and those create choke points. So the Liberty Tunnel, the Fort Pitt Tunnel, and the Squirrel Hill Tunnel all have traffic at various times of day, certainly during rush hour for sure, but even at other times, particularly the Squirrel Hill Tunnel and the Fort Pitt Tunnel. Notice I didn't say that the number 2 con is traffic. So it's different than that. Pittsburgh does not rank super high on the most hours sitting in traffic compared to other cities. We do have a lot of traffic lights throughout the region, particularly if you go through the South Hills. There just aren't a lot of wide open roads where you're gonna get from point A to point B very quickly. And then on top of that, you've got, maybe winter driving issues. You've got maybe steep hills that it's difficult to clear those roads, so it can become treacherous. You've also got potholes, tons of potholes in the Pittsburgh region. I think just driving generally and getting around town in the Pittsburgh region is a big adjustment for a lot of people. So just be aware that the driving and the congestion in the Pittsburgh region can be heavier than people realize. My number 3 pro for living in the Pittsburgh region is definitely the people and the community feel that you get living here. Not only living, just even visiting. I get tons of comments from my clients that visit Pittsburgh for the first time, or they haven't been here in years and years. And they always mention how friendly and nice and welcoming everybody they meet. I definitely get that feeling of people being very welcoming and friendly, but a lot of the people I work with that are visiting Pittsburgh for the first time also say that same thing. So I think the vibes in Pittsburgh are really strong. It's a big city, but it really has a small town feel. And most Pittsburghers are very down to earth, very authentic and genuine and real. And again, I can't speak for all people, and I know there's definitely some criticism out there of Pittsburgh not being welcoming to certain populations of people. And that is probably very true for those people that have those experiences. I cannot speak to those. But yes, I don't think that there is a perfect place, and we're always trying to get better. And I think there's parts of Pittsburgh that are really in tune with being welcoming and accommodating and making sure people feel like they're part of the community. And so I think generally overall, Pittsburgh does a great job of people feeling part of the community. An additional point about the community feel in the Pittsburgh region is just how many distinct neighborhoods and communities there are. So within the city of Pittsburgh, there are 90 distinct neighborhoods. And then within Allegheny County, you have another 130 municipalities, which are a lot bigger than just neighborhoods. So there's so many different places to experience. Third on my list of a con living in the Pittsburgh region is the old infrastructure. So the roads and the bridges and the tunnels and the buildings, public utility systems, all of these have been around for a long, long time. Pittsburgh being an older city, we have geographic challenges building some of those things in a modern way or updating those. And of course, making them super modern and updating them is extremely expensive. They're doing their best, obviously maintain safety to make sure that those bridges, which unfortunately we did have a bridge collapse a couple years ago, which was tragic, but they are doing things like improvements to the Commercial Street Bridge right outside of the Squirrel Hill Tunnel. That is actually going in place this month. There are projects around that definitely note that the old infrastructure in the Pittsburgh region is an issue. It doesn't necessarily make it worse. There are some things that, we are improving on. We have a brand new airport that is phenomenal, is voted one of the most architecturally beautiful airports in the world, and it just opened a few months ago. And next on my list is one of the pros for living in the Pittsburgh region. Goes back to what I said earlier about about affordability, but in this case, I'm going to talk about long-term value and appreciation. So yes, you can get current homes in the Pittsburgh region at a lower price than you can in other places, but then you're going to see that there's great stability in the Pittsburgh real estate market, that home will continue to appreciate. Overall in the Pittsburgh region, there's tremendous affordability. So it is difficult because we're in a seller's market to find homes, and you have to compete for those, because homes are in high demand. We definitely, we have affordable prices, but they are competitive, and sellers are doing quite well now in the market in the Pittsburgh region in the last few years. But as a buyer, I remind my buyers that yes, you're gonna pay a premium right now because there are way more buyers that want homes than there are homes for sale, but that home is going to appreciate. The school districts are gonna continue to be in high demand. I think Pittsburgh as a region is gonna continue to be a place that people want to live in, particularly based on all of the reasons I've given you thus far. I feel very positive about Pittsburgh's growth over the next 15 to 20 years. And I think any investment in housing in the Pittsburgh region is really smart, and you will see really good growth, and appreciation is going to be very strong in the Pittsburgh region in the coming decades. And next on my list is one of the major cons of living in the Pittsburgh region is the flip side of the pro, that the housing here is old. And so that seems to be the theme of all the cons about the Pittsburgh region, has something to do with sort of the age and the wear and tear that the city has gone through. But if you're going to maintain it properly, your home should be a good investment to make sure you take care of. But yes, getting in on the front end of a lot of homes. The average home in the Pittsburgh region is quite old. Some of the suburban communities obviously have been developed a lot more recently, but certainly within the city of Pittsburgh and our inner ring suburbs, those homes have been around for a long, long time. And older homes bring older problems. So you're going to have potentially basement issues, foundation issues. You might have problems with mechanical systems, roof, maybe retaining walls start to shift and move over time. One of the big consumer notices is around lead paint, that they make sure that all sellers and buyers sign off on the notice about possible lead paint, which prior to 1978 was widely used. There definitely are ways to mitigate it, and you can get it inspected. And I tell clients that, hey, if you're interested in a home that does not have lead paint, then you want to focus on homes that are built after 1978, which in the Pittsburgh region is going to give you a very small amount of inventory. So there's just something to be aware of, that if you're considering a move to the Pittsburgh area, the older homes is definitely going to be a big factor that you need to consider. If you're in the middle of your research of the Pittsburgh region, I encourage you to download my relocation guide. There's a QR code on the screen. There's a link in the description. You'll get great information about what it's like to live in the Pittsburgh region, as well as neighborhood by neighborhood information on the back of the guide. Some of the neighborhoods that are the most popular with my clients, get all the information about the schools, the real estate market, why people love living there. Please download that relocation guide. It's a great resource for your research. So there's a lot of pros and cons about living in the Pittsburgh region, but let me do a bit of a lightning round. I'm gonna hit a few more, kind of a lot quicker. I won't go into great detail, but if anything sparks your interest, please leave a question or comment, or reach out to me directly. I'd be glad to answer that. But here's a list of pros about living in the Pittsburgh region. First off, the food scene. Pittsburgh has a tremendous restaurant scene that's really improved drastically over the last decade. We don't have a lot of chains in the Pittsburgh region, so I think you can find great food options, great ethnic food options throughout the region, whether it's the city of Pittsburgh or some of the suburban communities. But I think Pittsburgh's food scene is definitely underrated. Next, Pittsburgh is obviously a huge sports town. So if you're into sports, obviously the Steelers, the Pirates, the Penguins are our major sports. But we have a great following for the Riverhounds soccer team. They're going to be building an extension of the stadium, which is really exciting. Beautiful place to go watch a game. Pitt women's volleyball, I'm a big fan of and season ticket holder. That's a lot of fun. So Pittsburgh as a sports town, I think is phenomenal. Pittsburgh has a great art scene. So in addition to world-class museums, we have a lot of galleries. We definitely have the cultural district downtown with a ton of different venues offering wonderful programs that travel the country. And so we get some top billing. We have a great symphony. So Pittsburgh has a tremendous tremendous art scene as well. The beer scene in the Pittsburgh area, I think is tremendous. So there's a lot of breweries, over 40 breweries in and around the Pittsburgh region. And so if you're into beer, there's a lot of cool places, especially if you're visiting, come check some of those out. It's a great beer scene in the Pittsburgh area. And then finally, the location of Pittsburgh, I think, is a tremendous advantage. There's so many places you can get to from Pittsburgh for weekend trips or week-long trips. So here I am today. I'm at the Jersey Shore in Cape May County. And so this was about a 6.5-hour drive for us from the Pittsburgh area. But there's a lot of places you can get to from Pittsburgh. You get to New York City easily within a day. You can get to DC, Philadelphia. Chicago is about a 6-7 hour drive. So Pittsburgh as a region, just has so much opportunity to travel. So if you're into traveling without getting on a plane and you just want to do like a weekend trip or a week-long trip by car, it's a great place to do some road trips. And now let's go to the con list, a little rapid fire as well on that side. Some reasons that Pittsburgh might not be the best fit for you. High property taxes. So yeah, bring out all the comments, people that can't stand property taxes. Obviously, I think they're well worth it, particularly given the affordability of the housing, but there are people that complain about it. There definitely are areas that have higher property taxes than others, but just Pennsylvania as a state, the way we run our school districts, it's very property tax dependent. But yes, some people are very surprised at the sticker shock of getting very high property tax bills when they're considering buying a home in the Pittsburgh region. The weather in Pittsburgh, I actually like it. It changes constantly, but a lot of people do find that the weather is kind of on the gloomy side, overcast side, rainy side. We do get lake effect from Lake Erie, lake effect weather that produces a decent amount of snow, but by the time it gets to Pittsburgh, it kind of slows down. So generally the weather, I like it because we don't have extreme heat in the summer and we don't have extreme weather in the winter, but there are people that complain about the weather. It is definitely not San Diego with tons of beautiful sunlight every single day. Direct flights. So yeah, I just wish Pittsburgh had a few more direct flights. We do have that beautiful airport that was just built, and that's a great amenity. But you'll find obviously other bigger cities like a DC or a Philadelphia that's gonna have direct flights to more places, particularly internationally. We have a few direct flights. We're gonna have a direct flight to Dublin. We have a direct flight to Seattle. But yeah, hopefully Pittsburgh picks up more direct flights. One more area that makes it challenging to live in the Pittsburgh area is just how many neighborhoods we have. So it's difficult to sort of learn the ins and outs. Because we have so many different neighborhoods, it can be difficult to kind of get the lay of the land and kind of, know how to navigate places, but also what amenities are in different places. So just figuring out all the different options and the different neighborhoods within the Pittsburgh region can be a challenge just because it is so complex, which also makes the real estate market super complex trying to navigate that because every neighborhood brings a different sort of supply and demand, and you need to work with a real estate expert that knows all of those neighborhoods that can guide you through a purchase in one of those neighborhoods. And one thing that kind of annoys me about living in Pittsburgh is, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, and we have a lot of people that just go in the comments and just say crazy things, sometimes maybe about high property taxes, or, they talk about communism or socialism. And, I think Pittsburgh is generally a very purple area. And so if you're not really into politics, or even if you are, I think there's a place for everyone in the Pittsburgh region. But, I guess that's true of most places. There's always going to be those people on the fringe. So I'm sure they're going to be in the comment section of this video, which is fine. But I think overall, the Pittsburgh region has a very balanced political scene. Obviously, the city of Pittsburgh is very democratic, which is true of just about every single city in the US. And the suburban communities lean a little more conservative. But overall, I think the city that's actually one of the attractive parts about it is that it is not super polarizing, that most people, I think, are engaged with their communities, but politics doesn't really rule the day. And generally, it is not a red or a blue area, but it's kind of purple. So we've covered a lot of ground in this video, took a deep dive into a lot of the reasons that make Pittsburgh a great place to live. A lot of those center around housing and what it's like to live here, particularly the fact that it's so accessible and affordable. And I hope you found it helpful to really understand what makes Pittsburgh a great place to live and what are some things that might give you pause on a potential
potential move to the Pittsburgh area. So if you've made the decision that you're pretty sure you want to make a move to the Pittsburgh area, I've got a great opportunity for you. Please book a call with me. There is a QR code on your screen and a link in the description to fill out a form. That form includes choosing a time to meet with me, and we'll go take a deep dive into what your needs are. That form also asks you to fill out a couple questions so I can gather a few more details about your budget, about your search, about what you're looking for, what your needs are, so we can talk at length about where are the places that might be a good fit for you. We'll see if we make a great fit. So fill out that form, book a call with me. Look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for watching, and welcome to Pittsburgh.